Welcome in, guys. Ezzy here. Today, we're going to be looking at 5 strange or weird BOWs from Resident Evil. Now, there's a ton of uncanny enemies in the series, way too many to fit in one video. So I chose 5 maybe lesser known Umbrella creations. If you know any of the bioweapons on this list, leave a comment down below and tell me some of your favorite monstrous enemies that have shown up in the series. I hope you enjoy the video. I know it's a bit different than my usual off-camera content, but there is a Resident Evil 7 video in the works, so I look forward to that. And without further ado, let's get into it. So first up, we have one of my favorite Tyrants and probably my favorite on this list, the Hypnos Type T. This enemy is from the game Resident Evil Gun Survivor, encountered near the end of the game. At first glance, Hypnos looks frail and fragile compared to the likes of the other more memorable enemies like Mr. X or Nemesis. In fact, he looks like he could be Mr. X's little brother. But the key thing that separates Hypnos from previous Tyrants is the inclusion of the Hypnos gene, for which the monster was named after. This gene would act like a virus, killing off weaker cells in the body through natural selection, leaving only the strongest cells and encouraging their reproduction. This led to him having multiple mutations over the course of the fight, each one becoming more and more aggressive. And thanks to Jose M. Cebolla, I hope I'm saying that right, he created these models in Blender, and we can see what each mutation would look like in the modern visuals. Starting off with his initial form is very spot on. I love this. And then we get to see his evolved, more ferocious state, where he really starts to look like a tyrant here, including a dramatic increase in muscle mass, longer claws, and he will attack the player relentlessly, but at the cost of the classic tyrant flaw starting to rear its head in, the exposed weak point. Next, we have Hypnos' final form, which of course looks the deadliest. To me, it resembles the fusion of a tyrant and hunter, one of the most dangerous combinations you could ever face in Resident Evil. Hypnos becomes a mindless beast with only the need to kill whatever is in front of it, and of course, its weak point is now fully exposed. This next enemy is going to sound slightly familiar if you've played through Resident Evil Village. They're called the Undertakers, Cleaners, or Trash Sweepers, also from Resident Evil Survivor. The Cleaners have this uncanny look about them where they look normal enough, but their posture and elongated arms set them apart from fully blending in. These humanoid BOWs were created and programmed by Umbrella, not for sale, but for the sole purpose of destroying incriminating evidence. Cleaners were designed for low survival rate missions and deployed in units, making sure no trace of Umbrella was left. They were just expendable soldiers, not expected to return from these missions. Because of this cheap design, the Undertakers individually are much weaker than humans and even zombies, surprisingly. Though to combat this weakness, they would band together in packs to overpower their enemies, who were much faster and agile than humans, and could even understand the English language enough to follow orders from a single human commander that would be sent in with them. I wonder if enemies like these will return in the future, seeing as how the BSAA are now using bioweapons soldiers very similar to these, shown to us at the end of Village. I'm not too fond of the idea of enemies that use guns and shoot back at you, but it's interesting to see this idea come full circle. Now we have the Tyrant 091, which is an experimental tyrant based on the T-103 variant or the Mr. X model. This tyrant was introduced in Dead Aim, but was considered a failed experiment due to being unable to produce electrical currents that the T+G virus was supposed to create. The most noticeable feature of this failed Tyrant is its strange tentacle arms in place of claws. The other side effects include exposed major organs and damaged skin. You can see it really just looks like it's rotting away with a look of pain on its face. I mean, look at that face. It's just begging to be put out of its misery. This enemy is a bit of a continuation of Tyrant 091. The electrical current that the T+G virus was supposed to produce was perfected when Morpheus Duvall, a former Umbrella researcher, injected himself with the virus after an encounter with Bruce McGivern and Fong Ling, the main protagonists of Dead Aim. This caused him to mutate into something closely resembling a Tyrant, though unlike Tyrants, Morpheus maintained his mental state, making him extremely dangerous as well as keeping a very slender form instead of gaining increased muscle mass. So you've seen or maybe heard of people talking about a female Tyrant? This is him. Though Morpheus had feminine qualities before his transformation, they were just more prominent after the mutation and most definitely should be referred to as male. In his mutated form, Morpheus can generate an external electric field due to the virus, unlike his predecessor, the 091 Tyrant. Other powers include inhuman speeds and projecting bolts of electricity from his claw. After numerous encounters with our heroes and sustaining damage, the G part of the virus started to take effect, causing rapid mutations similar to when William Birkin infected himself with the G virus. Eventually, he transformed into a grotesque blob creature, losing all rationality and falling to the Dead Aim duo. Last on this list, we have another Tyrant, this one being dubbed the Ultimate Weapon, Tyrant Armored Lethal Organic System, or T-A.L.O.S for short. This Tyrant was created to be the antithesis to the Nemesis model. Umbrella's goal has always been to create the ultimate bioweapon, but the North American branch and the European branch had differing ideas on how to do this. The European branch created this hulking beast, the Nemesis, controlled by a parasite, and the North American branch created this strange clunky looking tank buster called T-A.L.O.S, which was controlled by microchips maintained by the Red Queen, this massive Umbrella supercomputer. And no, not that weird child thing from the movies. See, Umbrella wanted a Tyrant capable of taking on large military vehicles, hence the large shoulder-mounted rocket launcher and its armor plating on the body. Though T-A.L.O.S looks kind of clunky, it moves surprisingly fast and is capable of firing off rockets at machine gun-like speeds. Despite its overwhelming offense and defensive armor, the legendary duo Chris and Jill were able to bring it down, causing a mutation. This next form would have T-A.L.O.S shed its armor, an anchor to the ceiling with a metal-like spine, and grow tentacles used to fling pieces of the ceiling at the two. This transformation is kind of funny to me in the way that it's less intimidating than the initial form and seems far less dangerous. Chris and Jill defeated this mutation as well, putting an end to Umbrella's bioweapon, their ultimate bioweapon, and the tyrannical corporation themselves. And those five are only just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to strange enemies in the Resident Evil series. As always, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to comment down below your thoughts and suggestions for other Resident Evil lists and mysteries, and make sure to follow my socials and keep updated on what's next. Until next time, take care.